Welcome to the MMHP in the 989, channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history. Recorded live from the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame, located inside the Bay County Historical Museum
from the city by the bay.
Featuring Dr. J, Fred Reif, Mr. Mike, and your host, Scott Baker. Brought to you by the 989 Podcast Network and the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame, located at the Bay County Historical Society Museum at 321 Washington Avenue, Bay City, Michigan.
And we're back here with part 2 here in the MMHP in the 989 with Mr. Mel Kanar. He was responsible for so much of the music that we get to listen to over the years, coming out of the Motown, Detroit area, from behind the scenes with the bands, behind the scenes with the labels, behind the scenes with the record presses, the payoffs, the shipments, the storage, everything you can think of. Mel was behind, one of the prime architects of getting everything from point A to point B to score a big hit, as well as to put on the shows and everything else in between. Mel is taking off with our podcast here. It was a huge episode 1 with you guys, and we appreciate y'all tuning in and listening and commenting. And we don't want to hold you up here. So here's part 2 with one of the biggest influencers in our music bedrock here in mid-Michigan, or in Michigan as a general, and Mr. Mel Kanar. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show. Dig in, everybody.
I noticed that you did some work for Delphi Records.
Delphi, right.
And you said that you worked with Delphi after Richie Valens was killed with Buddy Holly.
He was about, I think I was in the back room when Donna was around. I remember I did Chris Montez too, but was he on Delphi? Let's Dance.
It's a white label.
I can't remember. I'm not sure if he was on Delphi.
No, I don't think it was Delphi.
Chad Romero was on Delphi. He did the Hippie Hippie Shake. That was kind of like
the one?
Johnny Crawford.
Oh, I did Johnny Crawford. He brought him. He was on that gun.
The Rifleman.
He was, the Rifleman.
He came the Rifleman's son.
I took him around too. He was this kid. He came with his mother, I think, or his father. I can't remember.
He had a big hit with a song called Rumors.
Rumors, right?
He never sang on the show, did he?
No.
I can't remember.
No, not at all. Not at all. But, there was a lot of the the young TV stars. Shelley Fabre, Paul Peterson, of course, Johnny Crawford.
Well, what big record did Chris Montana? Let's Dance?
Let's Dance, yeah.
What label was that on? I know I did that.
It wasn't
white label.
Yeah, it wasn't Delphi.
No. I did Delphi, did A Million to One, Little Caesar and the Romans.
Well, that was...
wasn't that Delphi?
Well,
I remember bringing them in.
Yeah, that was those oldies but goodies remind me of you.
Yes.
It's a blue.
See, I have that 45. That's why I remember it so well.
Oldies.
A Million to One. Was it?
Little Caesar
Jimmy
and the
Charles.
Was it Jimmy Charles?
I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, I remember doing both of those.
Yeah.
And also Jimmy Charles, Delphi, Little Caesar and the Roman. Oh, the Etzels. What brought us together?
And
they sent it to me. He said, Mel, would do me a favor. He came up. I can't remember the guy. He was out of Cleveland or someplace in Ohio. The Etzels, What Brought Us Together. They had a couple of big hits too.
Well, Ram-a-Lama Ding Dong. Was that the same one?
Ding. That's right.
Have you saved all these records? Probably not.
I had thousands of them. When I moved to Florida, I sold them all for $3,000, and I had albums signed by all artists and everything else. I had them in 25 boxes. That's when they came. And I had a brick on them because you didn't want them to think. I got so tired of dragging those damn things around. And very seldom. I kept some of them and getting around. Some guy came and boy, did he screw me. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
More than a Las Vegas hooker.
Worse. Yeah. Some of them were jazz albums that said, most of them said promotion copies, not for sale.
Well, those Blue Notes.
Oh, yeah.
They're worth
big time money.
Big time in
and a lot of them were signed from the artists, okay? Thanks, Mel. Even Tony Orlando from Bless You album. Thanks, Mel, for your great promotion. A lot of them send me albums as a thank you thing. And when I get the albums from like Blue Note, it said promotion or promotion copies not for sale. Okay, I'd save those. I'd save, and when I went to the Minor Key or those places, I had albums in case they wanted to give them out to whatever, or whoever I took, and I had them sign them. I don't care if it was Miles Davis or whoever it was. Okay, big jazz, Wes Montgomery or Kenny Burrell or all those, the greats, McCoy Tyner. Oh my God, all the Les McCann. He just passed away recently. I had them all, and I just got so tired of carrying.
What did you end up keeping? You said you still have a few.
I gave him to my aunt's son-in-law, my aunt, my better half, and I don't know what he did with them. I don't think I have a 33, and I don't even have a player.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite '60s songs was "Treat Her Right" by Roy Head. And I remember seeing him
I have that. Yeah.
Yeah, on Shindig. And the guy was like double jointed. I've never seen such an unusual performance. Yeah.
Yeah. He
sounded black, but
yeah, he loved
incredible.
James Brown.
Well, yeah.
He was a white carbon copy of James Brown.
He had some moves I don't think even James could do. I was amazed.
Yeah, Roy Head.
Yeah, I bought a video of some Shindig performances precisely because he was on it, and that's one of my favorite, performances without a doubt. Did you meet Roy Head? Did you work closely with him at all?
Not at all. Never met him.
He just brought the record around.
Yep. Did my thing with the record. Never did that. I did Betty Everett though. I had her in town.
Another great singer.
And that's the classic one of Betty Everett and Jerry Butler, "Let It Be Me."
Oh yeah,
that's a classic. That's a classic.
You're No Good.
You're No Good.
Great song.
The Shoop Soom Soom song. It's in His Kiss.
It's in His Kiss. Yeah, she had a run of some really good songs.
Nice lady. And then right after they did that oldies show for what's Lubinsky, whatever his name is.
Right, on PBS.
She had cancer. She died just a few months after that. She did with Jerry Butler. Yeah.
Did you ever get any photos taken with any of the artists you took around?
I didn't have enough brains to do that.
Oh.
Yeah. Now say Little Caesars.
You just don't think of
especially back then.
A camera.
Yeah. Well, that's why there's so few photos of anything back in those days. Of course, the big thing, that we talked about this many times, was your relationship with Tony Orlando, and which has, kind of remarkable in a way that it's lasted for what's got to be
62 years.
62 years. And maybe you could kind of just share with us that relationship.
They've heard this story a million times.
But the people on the podcast haven't.
I was I live in Rochester, Michigan, and I was reading our local community paper. And at the Macomb Center, I noticed Tony Orlando's coming there on October the 7th. And I said to my better half, Ann, I said, listen, Tony Orlando, I don't know if he remembers me or not, but I broke his first 2 records when we were both very, very young. I said, you know what? I think I'd like to go see him. Maybe we can catch him before the show or after, just to say hello. So she said, whatever you want to do. So besides that, I wrote a little note. My name is Mel Kanar. I work for Aurora Distributors. Tony was on Epic Records. I broke his first 2 records, Halfway to Paradise and Bless You. And I know he's going to be at the Macomb Center on October the 7th. And if all possible, I'd like to stop by and to say hello either before his show or after his show. Well, I noticed, where am I going to send this note? So I see his booking agency, and I see an address in Branson, Missouri. And I knew he's in Branson, Missouri for years and years. So I sent them both, what is it, a note, an envelope, and a stamp. Well, about 2 weeks before and a week before, my friend Jack Kane, who's brought me in, he passed away, friends for 72 years. Then another one died at 50 years of friendship, and I was kind of really low, and I just didn't feel like doing it. I just didn't feel like doing it. So we passed on going to see Tony Orlando. We're sitting in our television room about 10:30 on a Saturday night on October the 7th. Look at my phone. Tony Orlando. I said, oh my God. He said, Mel, it's Tony. Do you think I'd ever forget you? 62 years. You brought me in this business. I love you. I can't believe it. He says, this is my last year. I'm out of it. I'm going to do my radio program. I got something else I'm going to do, but I can't do it anymore. He said, like I just said, he can hit the ball, but he can't run to the bases. Okay? As you get older, we all know what that is, okay? And we had a nice conversation, this back and forth. Let's stay in communication. We're not going to, this, that, and I text him back and forth and all kinds of. We talked about the good days. We both loved Jerry Butler and the Impressions and, Curtis Mayfield. And he said, then he was saying about when I took him to meet, we had a big show. I think I told you just before, from the NAAC at the Book Cadillac Hotel on Washington Boulevard, Detroit, was the Sheraton Cadillac. And it was for the NAACP. And I brought him in town. He was in town. And Timmy Euro, I'm hurt. And a new star that was coming to Columbia Records, who I knew real well. And they were doing this show for the NAACP, and my friend Armin Baladian, he was there. And the new star was a gal named Aretha Franklin. And she came out with her very first thing on Columbia, and Rockabye Your Baby in a Dixie Melody. Even though it did sell a little bit. And then they asked Tony to sing Halfway to Paradise. And he said, in front of this audience, I don't think I'm going to do that. So he said to Aretha to him, just sing from your heart like a cross. Sing from your heart. I mean, I'll see. So you help me. They did the Isley Brothers, Twist and Shout. Timmy Euro, Tony Orlando, and Aretha Franklin, they tore the place up. They just tore him up. Then we went to Aretha's house with her sister Irma and Carolyn. And I think the second or third time he was here, I introduced him to Solomon Burke. Okay. And I said to Aretha, Aretha, you're in the right church, but in the wrong pew. She said, Mel, what did you mean by that? I said, music business is you, but you got to do it your own way. Columbia is not the right place for you. I know that she got some front money and thought maybe she'd be another Sarah Vaughan or an Ella Fitzgerald. And then right after her contract ended, she went to Atlantic. And they knew what to do with her.
Yeah, I think it was probably her father, the Reverend Franklin.
Oh, yeah, pushing her.
Yeah, and, Columbia's the big prestige
label.
Yeah. I know Barry Gordy was interested in signing her to Motown, but there was no way he was going to allow her to go with Motown.
No.
They were still unproven at that point in time.
No, and Atlantic had a track record, the Drifters and all the Coasters, and I did Stand By Me on Atco with Benny King and
Ray Charles.
Yeah, they had a lot of big stars.
Well, and she worked with Jerry Wexler too.
Jerry Wexler.
So yeah, he was steeped in soul music.
Big steeped in soul music.
Yeah.
So, but she ran the show. He knew that she was a talent. There was no doubt about it.
Well, we've got a couple of videos of Aretha while she was still on Columbia that we play in the gallery. And Rockabye My Baby with the Dixie Melody is one of them.
Yeah.
But she also does a cover of It's in His Kiss by by Betty Everett. And
really?
It just kicks ass.
Yeah.
You can just tell that she's so suited to that kind of music. It was great, though.
That was great.
So then you mentioned, I think we talked about this earlier, that, so many artists kind of got derailed because of the British invasion.
Oh, yeah.
And Tony Orlando being one of them.
One of them, right.
So can you kind of course, I think probably most people, I guess, that are listening to this probably know Tony Orlando with Dawn
Correct.
a lot more than they know those early hits there in 1961.
Actually, the show that we went to in New Buffalo, Michigan, that Indian casino, was a beautiful place that we did about 6 weeks ago, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even do Halfway to Paradise or Bless You, but it was his last show, and he was, paying tribute to his band members. His drummer's been with him for 29 years. I mean, his musicians and his brother plays, and they've been with him a long, long period of time. But after that, all the Bobby Rydells and the Neil Sedaka and all these other places, they all went. That was the end of it. They fell off the side. Now it was all the British invasion, the Beatles leaving, and of course the Rolling Stones. And I didn't have an ear for that. I couldn't hear that. And look at the stuff that came out, that were from the Grandee Ballroom and everything else, the Who and all. I didn't have an ear for that. I was an R&B ear, blues and R&B.
Speaking
jazz.
of blues, how did you pick up on the blues coming out of England at that time too? Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac or
Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah, the original.
Yeah, sure.
Like some of that stuff must have hit.
Yeah.
They were playing the stuff that you were promoting in a sense.
Right. They all loved the era that I came from.
John
it was
Mayall.
we were ground roots. We were grassroots at the beginning of this stuff.
But that didn't get much play on AM radio, though. Like Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. I mean, that you had to buy the albums. They weren't getting. They were big in England, but in the U.S. they couldn't get arrested
radio
on
stations
AM.
are selling time, and it's always followed the money.
Well, what made me think of it is when Peter Green came over with Fleetwood Mac second time, they did the Tube show in Detroit, and they were. I mean, I guess it's everywhere now, but back then maybe it wasn't a big deal. But there was a show called The Tube or something in Detroit, and it would be like a PBS type thing. Yeah. And that was a great show in Detroit on that. And I thought, well, that's then there's the Grandee with John.
Oh, they were
Mayall
gigantic in the Grandee.
Oh, big.
But that's again, that's a different crowd that weren't listening to AM radio, and that's the big divide right around that time. Where a lot of the great bands, great album bands.
Wasn't Russ Gibb a FM guy?
Yeah.
So by then.
Right. You could have heard it on Russ Gibb's show.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
definitely. But so then, like Tony Orlando, he kind of changes gears, right?
He went to work for, I forgot the big producer, a part of, and he actually found Barry Manilow. And he found James Taylor, and I can't remember the third one that he found. And then somebody came up to him, a friend of his, and said, "Tony, I got this great song I want you to sing so I can go peddle it to other artists," because he was out of singing. And he said, "Okay, I'll do it." And it was Candida. And then that really took off, and he said to, I forget what his name, Luther, I can't remember, to come back about 2 a.m. He said, "My love is the being on stage. I really want to be on. That's where my heart is. That's what I want to do." So he did Candida, was big, and then Knocked 3 times. Then he did the Jerry Butler and some other stuff. And
he took.
and then
He didn't know Joyce Vincent was a Detroit gal, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One half of Dawn.
Yeah. Both of them were Detroit gals.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the other one did television and everything else. She was kind of like the smug one, always doing that. And he was on CBS for 4 years.
Yeah.
With his television program. He's got a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, and he was just inducted into New Jersey Hall of Fame.
All right.
Which, it's his, Tony Bennett and Frank Sinatra and all this other stuff.
Frankie Valli, I'm sure, is in there
sure.
as well, yeah.
Dionne Warwick.
But,
that's a funny
again,
story.
it's just kind of one of those strange twists of fate where if he wouldn't have been asked to do that demo of Candida, maybe this whole thing with Dawn and that whole
timing is the secret in life.
You got
guys.
it. You know, that whole second half of his
Timing
career
is the secret of life.
gone.
Yeah.
Now he's doing radio now, right?
He's doing a 2-hour program on WABC radio along with Cousin Brucey and another, what's the name, who does Frank Sinatra. Every Saturday night, you can, I will listen to my computer, but go to WABC musicradio.com. And you can listen to the show. And really, he does a lot of great things and brings up all kinds of various and the sort of things related to. I was on his program. He interviewed me. Talking about
I'm just going to ask you about that. How long ago was that?
About September, maybe no, in October. I didn't go. It might have been early November. I was on it, and when he took what do you call me, the unseen heroes of the music business, or the giants in the music business, but unseen hero.
Yeah, well,
Promotion
nobody.
men.
Yeah, nobody knows about
Nobody
the promotion guys.
They all hear the music we're talking about,
Right.
but you wouldn't know. You knew about Al Abrams, okay, but you don't have anything really from the guys that I were promotion guys, like Al Valenti or Sal Star, all these other, there's so few of them, they don't even know if they have promotion men anymore.
Yeah.
But our job was I get a stack of records, 45s, and I'd be sitting there on Monday listening. Oh, this got possibility. Let me put this one over here. And that's a dog. And that's what I would do. And I've heard something up. I didn't get them all. We're not home runs like, Angel Baby. I mean, because that wasn't my genre. I mean, I didn't know what from Angel Baby, So,
when you did this show, did you do it by phone or did you go and appear on the?
No. He taped me.
Okay.
Tape me.
Oh, how long is the segment? And can I track it down online?
Get it? Yeah. I think you may be getting it online. I'd have to ask my technical genius. That's my nephew Neil.
That'd be cool to add that as a tag when we do your show.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Right, I'm on there. WABC music. Was it music? Some Tony Ron. You go online. Just put on WABC
for sure.
music
it'll come
radio.
out. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
you can get that, or you
Amazing.
call me. I call him, and he's got my phone number,
All right.
and I'll get that what you need. Okay.
We were just talking about Fleetwood Mac, and I know one of the artists that was a great influence for the early Fleetwood Mac that was more blues-based was Elmore James.
Oh yeah, Elmore James.
And you promoted some of his stuff.
He was on fire. What was the name? I just go and put his names, but I can't remember his records.
I'm trying to think. Dust My Broom.
That's my bro.
The Sky is Crying. What else did he put out there in the 60s, Fred? I'm trying to
I
think.
don't know why my
some of
mind
them.
Marbles
becomes
aren't
a
working.
blank sometimes.
Yeah, all right. But I know he put out several singles during the 60s. The
Someone,
classic.
he died before I got into it, so I never got to see him. He's
Oh God.
one of my favorite.
Well, a very distinctive guitar style. Just that. A lot of those early Fleetwood Macs, they, basically.
That would be the Jeremy Spencer stuff.
Yeah, Jeremy Spencer, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it was like telling him the story that Bobby Blue Bland. I love that. Turn your love lights. Okay. I really liked it, but I said, boy, this is gonna be limited. I ain't gonna be able to get this on white radio stations. I know it, even though I loved it. And I don't want to tell you how I got it played, but I took it to a guy that I know under the right conditions would say he'd play the record. At WKNR, Keener 13,
All right,
in
Detroit.
Dearborn, Michigan, where you had to be 100% Wonder Bread, okay? You had to be double white. Dearborn, Michigan. And I got him to pick it as the pick hit of the week. Bobby Blue Bland, Turn On Your Love Lights. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He played that thing, Mrs. Knorr, husband, she owned a radio station. Her husband was part of the Knorr Broadcasting Company that owned part of the Detroit Tigers. She came running out of us and, what the heck are you playing? Bobby Bluebland, turn on your love lights, okay? So that was a funny story, but I had some of those.
You've been sneaking in these. I can't tell you. What are some of the good can't tell you things that you can tell us that you haven't spewed before?
You won't be able to play it on the air.
Oh yes, we can.
That's what we're here for. You got to have
right.
some of those background secrets, those trade secrets. This is part of the joy of getting it all out there.
That's right. Don't be
At
afraid
least
to tell us some
For
of
the
those Del Shannon
distributors of the
stories.
record. No, we don't want to tell about that. I like Del. I love his wife and his kids, and the record companies. They could, when I told them, that what it's going to cost them to play the record. Okay, I knew some of that money is going to have to go for me to take care of something, to get it played.
Mm-hmm. They
didn't care. And at the record distributing companies, because I had such a string, I had an unlimited expense account, which of course everybody padded their unlimited expense account. I ate on it and everything else, but I had results.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of hit records.
Yeah, your proof was in the pudding.
Yeah, and payola never disappeared.
No.
Okay, some of those guys that I paid off to get records played, they're all dead now, so it makes no difference.
That's why I want to hear these stories.
So sometimes I would play a record. I didn't want to bring a disc jockey. I don't even want to mention his name because he's gone. And I play it to him. He says, yeah, Mel, I think you're right. This is a possibility. I said, well, what is it going to take for me to get this thing played? He give me a figure. I call up the manufacturer and I would say, I double the amount because half of it went in my pocket.
Yes.
The horse wins the race. Remember, gentlemen, that don't forget the jockey. Okay? Half of it went into my pocket and half went to him. And I would say to the manufacturer, send me 300 records. Because it didn't cost them as much. Right. And I'd sell them, or I give it to the disc jockey. They'd sell them to the one-stops. That's how business is done. You don't have to get it from me. Just take a look at our local politics. You take a look at Washington. Are you kidding? Yeah. We got the best government money can buy. Okay, that's how it works. Nothing has changed. The same old girl, different dress.
You always had a good car with good wheels and good gas and good suit and dinner.
I had a Mercedes Gullwing. Do you think I was making money? That car would be worth $1.5 million today. I couldn't get it repaired because there was no Mercedes-Benz dealer in Michigan. I had to take it to Windsor, to Downtown Motor Sale in Windsor, Ontario. I think the guy worked on Messerschmitts in World War II, if I could get a part. Yeah, I kept that for a while.
Well, where did you go? Now you say this all came to an end at the British invasion. Tell us about post your career. What did you do after that?
Believe it or not, I was in the insurance business. I got married. I had a house, and I had a bigger house, and I had expenses and cars. And I said, how long am I going to be a rock and roller? I'd look at some of the old guys that were doing promotion. I had more ambition. I wanted to be successful. That's what I wanted to do. So I started with a friend of mine, a little small company. You might know who it is. It's Jackson National Life Insurance Company out of Jackson, Michigan. It was with a gentleman named Tony Payson and my friend Rich. And it was in a converted Woolworth store. They'd only had license in Michigan and Indiana, had no products to sell. The product they were selling, the insurance department stopped them from selling. It was an overcharge of premium refunded back in the form of dividend. So he said, Mel, you're a great marketer. You're a great salesman. You should go in the insurance business. I went from, hey, baby, what's happening? Mohair suits, sharkskin suit, little skinny black ties, white on white shirts, my initials on my cuff are over here, boots, long hair, sideburns down to here. You're going to make me wear a three-piece suit with a vest, wingtip shoes, okay? You remember those days, wingtip shoes, striped ties, and a button-down collar, okay? I'll give it a try. And I was $1 million producer. I sold everybody I knew in the record business, the music business.
You made your rounds.
And the company I was doing, along with Jay, said, Mel, you should stay in this business. You'll make more money here. And life has got a lot of twists and turns.
Yeah.
Years unfolded every step of the way
but,
for you.
I cherished the years that I was in the music business. Nobody could say they had more fun or a more fuller life than me. Are you kidding?
Yeah, and your
world.
timing was really good too, because that it had started to shift already by about 1966,
Right.
or 67. It was no longer the singles.
Well, like I said,
it was the albums.
Well, the Beatles were on VJ, but I never was involved with the Beatles, and so were the
Four Seasons were on there for a while.
Yeah,
too.
I did some Four Seasons stuff on
Yeah.
VJ. Come to think of it, another story, VJ Records.
They were probably one of the few white acts on VJ.
It
weren't
was. That's true.
they? Well, besides the Beatles, but the Beatles were really never a factor
No.
to speak of on VJ.
Yeah. So, anyways, kind of a funny story. I don't know how long we're going to be going, but I had a terrible, terrible cold, and I was taking Sudafeds. And my friend Dick Rakovin, who was the promotion man for Dot Records, that was, White Sox, what's his name?
Pat Boone.
Pat Boone in the letter. And he became the general manager for WJR and BZ for Capital radio stations. And the Four Seasons were at Stouffer's Northland Inn, okay? And he calls me up, and I was in my office. He said, "Where the hell are you?" I said, "Man, I'm so sick. I got a terrible cold. I've been taking these Sudafeds all day." He says, "Everybody's asking, where are you? Where are you? We got this great big party, the Four Seasons. Why don't you come down?" I said, "Man, I finish up here. I'm going home to bed." He said, "No, come have one drink. Come on, everybody's asking where you are, everything else." So me, like a dummy, I go up to the top of the Stouffer's Northland Inn. I think I had more than one drink. I had a brand new Thunderbird. I remember it was blue with blue leather interior. And coming down 8 Mile Road, and I turned left onto Livernois. So when I went by Baker's keyboard line, you wouldn't believe it, a telephone pole jumped out and hit my car. I'm surprised I was alive after that. So those days I was drinking gin martinis. I switched to vodka. That was the last gin I've ever touched in my life. That was a funny thing.
Wow. And you took insurance all the way?
Yeah, and insurance, and I've been what they call a money angel and investors in various and assorted things. And even today, I'm still in business. I have a company. Now I've taken in 2 partners because I'm getting a little long in the tooth. I'll be 84 in July. And it's called Smarter Flush.
Oh, that is you.
That's me.
Okay. I wasn't sure that was you or not.
That's me. Yeah,
Okay.
I invented most of this product. I have patents for all this stuff and what the product does. Instead of we have a terrible problem. We don't have it so much in Michigan, but they got it in California and us. We're running out of water. 70% of the world is covered by water. 3 is fresh. 2 of the 3 are under glaciers and snow. You got 1% of all the world's water is fresh potable water. The toilet consumes the greatest amount of water in the average home. Okay? People don't realize, but it does consume. 30% of all the water is the toilet. Now, I got involved in this thing because I was a money angel in an intellectual property that managed power and electric motors. Make it simple, it's like cruise control. When the motor needed heavy duty, it gave it to him. But when it wasn't doing its job, like an injection molding, when it shoots the gunk into it to form the part, it gives them the power. But when it comes back, while it's forming it, you don't need to have it going. A motor doesn't have a brain, okay? It's a variable speed drive. And I met a lot of people, and one of my good friends, who's still a good friend of mine, said, "Mel, what do you know about dual flush toilets?" I said, "Well, I've been all over the world. I see them all over. I'm looking at in Switzerland, looking at the Alps, and the water's flowing all over the place. They all got dual flush toilets. And what a dual flush toilet is you have a choice between a short flush and a long flush. Short flush for liquid and paper, and a long flush for solid waste." So I said to him, "Bill, he says, "That's something that you should be doing." He says, "The water problem is going to be bigger than the electrical problem. They got all kinds of ways to produce electricity. I said, well, that sounds good. He said, besides that, you need to do something with this terrible, outdated 1950 technology flapper and chain because they all leak. And they sell millions of those things. So they want them to be like the old razor and blade. They give you the razor for free and they want to rip you off on the blades, right? So I got involved in it, and I do it because I always like to be productive. And if you go to smarterflush.com, even though we're under construction and we were in Home Depot and Lowe's and Menards and True Value and Ace and Walmart and everything else. And our kits, you don't have to replace the whole damn toilet. Why would you want to get rid of a perfectly good car if you needed a set of tires?
Right.
Right? So we save water, save money, pay for themselves. Return on investment is real quick because you're saving on your water bill. And we are the #1 green product. So somebody said, Mel, you should write a book about your life. I've heard it a million times. I said, well, here's the title. From Rock and Roll into the Crapper. Okay? So I'm I'll give you a couple of my cards, gentlemen. You can look it up.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
And
Okay.
I don't know. I've been working since I've been 12 years of age. I only know forward gear. That's it. Somebody said, Mel, I had a beautiful big house. I have a beautiful big house in Rochester. I had one in Naples, Florida. They would say, one of those fancy golf courses with the fancy and the big club and all this stuff, guarded, gated. They strip search you before you get in and all this stuff. Mel, when are you going to start playing golf? I said, 2 days after I'm dead.
Yeah.
No, I ain't going to do that. Here's a card for each one of
Okay,
you, and I'll
thanks,
give
Mel.
you one too.
Excellent.
Pass them down. And it's good. It's nice to be productive.
Yeah,
and I tell you
that's
something
neat.
you learn in life this. Nothing comes easy. Life is a roller coaster ride. Man, and sometimes the bar falls off, the floor falls off. You got to be resilient. I'm so tired of this country being so many wussies we're putting out today. It's unbelievable. But nobody can live this life.
Yeah.
Nobody
All right.
can live this life. I don't care what school you graduate. I don't know if I should say this, but I say, hey, I got a PhD in bullshit. I've heard more stories than Mother Goose, okay? And that's when I look at these politicians and everything else. You know when a politician is lying? When his lips are moving, okay? So I hear all these things, and it's very upsetting from a boy who came from inner city Detroit with nothing to have a lot. Now, it's not all based upon dollar cents, because guess what, guys? At the end of the game, they take the pawn and the king and put them in the same box.
Yep.
It's what you do in between
Yep.
and what you
Well
love. That's a very important thing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you never appreciate up until you know down. And one thing is, believe me, I had a million meetings. Oh, God. And guys call me, Mel, I got to have a little meeting with you. Oh, okay. I knew it was one of two things. Either they had a jackpot of some problem, which I knew about, or they wanted to borrow money. It's one of the two things. So they come to my office, and I say, okay, sit down. I have some rules. What do you mean you have rules? I said, yeah, I got rules. You tell me the truth, and perhaps we can come up with a solution. You lie to me, this ball game's over. I can't deal with it. Sorry. Should have had my mother. My mother was a crossbreed between a junkyard dog and a combat boot. I tell her my mother was a tattoo artist and a NASA scientist. She said, what do you mean, a tattoo artist? I said, I stepped out of line, I end up being black and blue, okay? And she could take her slipper off and throw it. It'd make a right turn and a left turn, and it'd get me, okay? That was it. And if she caught me lying, I could still taste the fell snap the soap and out in the beating. That was it. She was a psychologist. What? She gave it to you, and she solved your problem real quick. You're lucky if you could sit. That was it. Not today's day and age to call the police on you.
Yeah. There you are.
My mother always threatened me to put soap in my mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Never did. So
Oh, my mother did. She did
Whoa.
1, 2, 3. That was it. And she would always say, you see that door there? It swings both ways. You don't like it here? Don't let it hit you on your bottom side on the way out, because my job is to parent, teach you.
Yeah.
Teach you. Yeah. Well, we learned the 3 most important things: reliability, responsibility, and respect. Okay? You mix that in a bowl, you get love. And I can hear me saying this to David Ruffin. I said to him, listen, you're going the wrong way on a one-way street. Where's this going to lead you? Alcohol and its drugs, it ain't going to solve any of your problems. You might as well spend your money on milk, because that ain't going to solve your problem either. You become what you think about most. But sometimes it's like talking to a wall.
Yeah.
True.
Like talking. We all have ridden the roller coaster of life.
Yes, indeed.
You know, and some things you're so memorable and you're so lucky, because what's the secret of success? I tell people, a lot of hard work and some luck. Hard work and luck. Believe me, they ain't been all home runs. Remember, Babe Ruth held the all-time home run record for a zillion years until Roger Maris passed him by. And at Yankee Stadium, they were booing him. They didn't want him to break Babe Ruth's record. But he also had another record that he did until Reggie Jackson passed him by. It was all-time strikeout king. When you get up to that plate, baby, they're not all home runs. And believe me, I've had people, oh, my daughter, she's a great singer and everything else. I said, well, to myself, she's a singer, you better get her a singer sewing machine. Oh, you can buy your way into talent. There's some luck. But, you know, it always proves out that it is. And unfortunate, timing is the secret of life. Like we're talking about Elmo James or some of these others that had great, great talent. Great talent. I met some talent, but like little Lester Phillips, you know, when you fool with them, drugs and them alcohol and everything else, just unfortunate. And I was telling, I told my nephew, when I get a hold of Tony Orlando, I'm going to tell him about this visit. And I'm going to tell him on his next show he should do these cover songs like that he did for the Jerry Butler, He Won't Love You Like I Love You, but break up. Because Jerry Butler, believe it or not, was number one R&B, but it was about number 14 in the top Billboard. And some great songs that we should do all these, like Release Me. Mm-hmm. But who made it big? Eckelberg Humperdinck, whatever his name is. He made it number one. Yep. And Sincerely, and I said by Harvey and the Moonglows, who made it big? The McGuire sisters. Right. They brought it to number one for how long? And whatever. Yeah. So, like I said, it's all about timing. Are we all?
Thank you, Mel. No, it's been a great time.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
okay, guys.
Yeah, Mel Kanar, everybody.
We're ready.
On behalf of our hosts, this podcast wouldn't be here without generosity of the Bay City Historical Museum, which hosts the Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame. We'd also like to thank all of our guests, and especially to the listeners. The MMHP is found at 989.network, or where all podcasts can be found. You can find updated information as well as Dr. J and Sir Fred's Picks of the Week on Facebook. Also on Facebook, check out Mr. Mike's Local Music Live series and Scott's Mid-Mitten 15 from Harvest Canteen Studios, featuring one-on-one interviews with Michigan music artists. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, and Mr. Mike on YouTube as Mr. BT1. That's MRBTEE and the number 1.
On behalf of us hosts, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and myself, we'd like to thank Mr. Eddie Switek, the voice of the MMHP and the 989.
We're ready.
We need to take a few photos with you before you leave.
Oh, well, I told him my picture, if you want, is in the post office.
Hey. So is Fred's.
Boy, you remind me, and I toured with him for 34 years, Lazy Lester.
Lazy Lester?
He lived in Pontiac for a number of years when I worked with him in Michigan. And he's just so quick with these
one-liners,
man. One right after
Well,
another, and
I
I
meet
kept
people,
going.
and I say to myself, boy, this guy's got brains God gave to an oyster. You know, when God passed out brains, he must have thought he said, trains have canceled the reservation. Unbelievable. And my latest one is common sense. is like deodorant. Those who need it the most don't use it. Marvin Gaye was one of the Moonglows at one time, along with Clarence Frogman Henry. And
I didn't know Frogman was a member of the
he was a
Moonglows.
member of the
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah.
I met
Eddie Burns.
Frogman down in New Orleans at the Jazz and Heritage Festival.
One of the blues guys I used to manage, Eddie Burns, he recorded for Anna.
For Anna, right. With
One
Dave-
song, Orange Driver, that Jay Giles
Oh, you want
band
to get through? I'm sorry.
reissued it.
There you got to stand up.
Oh.
There you go. You can wiggle back.
Okay, just
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I wrote
Thank you.
Anna Records, whoever owned them at that time. This was about
Gwen?
30 years ago. Well, it was a
Davis.
California address.
Oh, in Anna Records?
Huh?
Anna Records?
Yeah, well, I think it was part of Motown then.
It was early Motown. Before Motown. Before
Well, I know it,
Tamla.
but I mean, I think it became part of the
Yeah.
Motown group.
Afterwards. Well, like Tri-Fi, because I was involved with Tri-Fi Records. It was me, Gwen, and Harvey. We were partners, and we had Junior Walker and the All-Stars. And we had the Spinners.
Spinners, yeah.
Spinners just came into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
Finally.
Finally.
And you know,
Finally.
we went to the cemetery in Detroit where Florence Ballard is.
Yeah.
And one of the custodians of the cemetery, he said, "Oh, you might not know this, but right there is shit. What's his name? He was one of the lead singers of the Spinners.
Mm-hmm.
One of their big hits, and all he had, his gravesite, was a number, a little circle with a number. And I kept putting it on Facebook because, there's these people like the Detroit Blues Society who are buying tombstones. And I thought, well, look, this guy, he was in the Spinners. My God.
Yeah, it was like Frankie Lyman. That's the way
Right.
Frankie Lyman was at St. Raymond Cemetery.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was no marker on his grave at all.
And now
Well-
there's two tombstones.
Well, there's only one. And we have the other one here.
Some things you learn in life, so many people can accept failure much easier than they can accept success. And it's unfortunate when you look at so many of these great artists, even though they, like a Michael Jackson or Prince or even Mark, they couldn't even really get out into the public of any sort. They were always, hounded or this, that.
Oh, yeah.
Plus-
It's tough being a celebrity right now.
Plus, they didn't know the damn difference between a quarter, nickel, or dime. And whatever they got in their pocket, they blew.
Yeah.
Okay? Don Roby, when they finally bought him out, what part of his settlement was? He get a brand new Cadillac for the next 4 years. Besides paying him $100,000, which is diddly shit.
Yeah.
$100,000, $25,000 a year for 4 years, plus a brand new Cadillac.
Did he own the publishing to all those songs?
I imagine.
Yeah, probably did.
I can tell you a story about Don Roby. he was a great guy to me. He was very, very nice. And one year, Christmas time, Don Roby had some, they're all in that numbers business and the rackets and everything else. He owned an orchard of pecans. It was in Houston, Texas. And Christmas time, I get a box in my apartment, about this big and about this wide. Open a box. I said, what the hell is this? It's from Don Roby. Got all these pecans. What the hell am I going to do? 20-some years with pecans. I don't even know how I like pecan pie. What the hell am I going to do with them? I threw the damn thing in the garbage. Christmas time. About January, he called me up. He said, Mel, yeah, did you get my box? I didn't hear from you. Oh, yeah, I got your box. Remember, he used to pay me a bunch of money, especially spiffs, if I got things like Turn On Your Love Lights, for Bobby Blue Bland or everything else. I said, oh, yeah, those are great pecans. He said, did you find the envelope?
Oh, no.
What? Oh, the envelope. Yeah, I should have called you today. Yeah, I hope you. I sent you them $100 bills. And here, this is the early '60s. Okay, sent me $500 in the box. I threw them in the garbage when I held it. I know.
There we go.
Jeez.
Funny story.